Hey everyone, welcome back. We get a lot of questions about personal finance and how to kind of, reach that financial freedom so many people are looking for.
Yeah.
And we actually found a really interesting resource that I wanted to kind of deep dive into with you today.
Right.
It's a book called The Wealthy Gardener by John Soforic.
Oh, I've heard of that one.
Yeah, have you read it?
I have, yeah. It's really not your typical financial advice book.
No, not at all. I mean, even the title, right?
Yeah.
The Wealthy Gardener. It's like, what does gardening have to do with money?
Right. It's a really intriguing metaphor, though.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, it actually works.
Yeah, I think that's what makes it so effective.
So, we're going to be drawing on the book itself, but also an interview that Soforic did on a podcast recently.
Oh,
And yeah, I just thought it would be fun to kind of dig into this whole idea of cultivating wealth like a garden.
yeah, that sounds great.
So, one of the things that struck me right away, um, Soforic talks about how he actually wrote this book for his son. Yeah. Like he was saying, I wish I had known this stuff when I was younger. And
Yeah.
so he's kind of passing down this wisdom.
Yeah, that's a really cool approach. I like that.
Yeah. And I mean, it makes you kind of pay attention, right? Because
Yeah,
it's like, oh, this is coming from a place of, personal experience.
definitely.
So this whole thing about cultivating wealth like a garden, what did you think about that when you first read it?
I have to admit, I was a little skeptical at first.
Oh, yeah, me too.
But then the more I thought about it, the more it actually made sense.
Yeah.
It's like you don't just magically become wealthy overnight, right?
Right.
It takes time, it takes effort.
It's a process.
Yeah, just like gardening. You
Mm.
have to plant the seeds, you got to nurture them, you have to be patient.
Yeah. And I think for a lot of people, that's the hardest part, right? The patience.
Yeah, absolutely.
Especially like, we live in such a fast-paced world.
Yeah, instant gratification is everywhere.
Exactly. But with wealth building, it really is a long game.
Right, and I think that's where the gardening metaphor is so helpful.
Yeah.
It forces you to kind of slow down and think about things in a different way.
Yeah. So let's break it down a little bit. Like, what are some of those key elements of gardening that we can apply to our finances?
Well, first you have to decide what you want to grow, right?
Hmm.
What are your financial goals? What are those seeds that you're going to plant?
Yeah, because you wouldn't just, throw any old seed in the ground and hope for the best.
Exactly. You have to be intentional about it,
Yeah. And so Fork really emphasizes that point, like setting clear financial goals.
right?
He even has this quote. He says, you must have a clear financial goal and take consistent action toward it every day.
Wow, every day. That's pretty powerful.
I know. Like, he kind of makes you think, okay, what's one small thing I can do today to move closer to my goals?
Yeah, and I think that's the key right there. It's the small, consistent actions over time.
Yeah, that's what really adds up.
Exactly. And so Soforic talks about how people tend to overestimate what they can achieve in a year.
Yeah. But they underestimate what they can achieve in a decade.
That's so true. It's like we get caught up in the short term.
Right. We want to see results now.
But real wealth, it takes time to build.
Yeah, it's like growing an oak tree, right?
It's a marathon, not a sprint.
Exactly.
And it's interesting because when I hear Soforic talk, it's clear that he's not just talking about money.
Yeah.
Like he has this much broader definition of wealth.
Yeah, he talks about freedom and purpose.
Yes. He says wealth is not just about money. It's about freedom, purpose, and the life you build along the way.
I love that quote.
Me too. It's like it shifts your whole perspective.
Yeah, it's not just about accumulating as much money as possible.
Right. It's about using money as a tool to create the life you want.
Exactly.
And that life might look different for everyone.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what does freedom mean to you? What does purpose mean to you?
Right. And how does your approach to finances support those values?
Yeah, those are great questions to think about.
So, okay, let's say we're on board with this whole wealth garden idea.
Okay.
What are some of those practical gardening techniques that Soforic recommends?
Well, he's not a big fan of those, get rich quick schemes.
No, those rarely work.
Yeah, he's all about the fundamentals, consistent saving, smart investing.
Yeah, the tried and true methods.
Exactly. And in the podcast interview, he actually talked about how he wished he had started investing earlier.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because then he could have really taken advantage of the power of compounding.
That makes sense.
Yeah. The earlier you start, the more time your money has to grow.
So it's never too early to start, right?
Exactly.
Even if you can only invest a small amount.
Right. Every little bit helps.
Now, does he get into like specific budgeting advice?
He does. He talks about this idea of conscious spending.
Oh, what's that?
It's not about depriving yourself or anything like that.
All
It's
right.
more about Being mindful of where your money is going,
Yeah.
making sure that your spending aligns with your values and your goals.
So it's like being intentional with your money.
Exactly. And he also suggests automating your savings and
Oh,
investments.
that's a good one.
Yeah, so you don't even have to think about it. It just happens automatically.
It's like setting up an irrigation system for your wealth garden.
Perfect analogy. And, another thing he emphasizes is the importance of having multiple streams of income.
Oh, yeah, that's a big one these days.
It is.
Ah.
So not just relying on a single job.
Yeah, like diversifying your income.
Right. Whether it's side hustles or investments that generate passive income.
Yeah, having multiple streams can really provide that stability and security.
Absolutely. It's like having a backup generator for your wealth garden in case one of those income streams dries up.
Yeah, that's a great way to think about it.
Right.
So it sounds like Soforic's approach to building wealth is really holistic.
Yeah, it's not just about money, it's about creating a life of purpose and meaning.
Right.
And it all starts with taking those small, consistent actions.
Like tending a garden day by day.
Exactly. So, as we wrap up here, I want to leave you with this question.
Okay.
What seeds are you going to plant today in your own wealth garden?
And what does that garden ultimately look like for you?
Yeah, what does a life rich with purpose and financial freedom look like to you?
That's something for everyone to think about.
It is.
Awesome. Well, thanks for joining me on this deep dive. It's been really eye-opening.
I agree.
Until next time.
See you then.